Good afternoon, Abbotsford residents. I'm Mr. Pelican, running for your Commander-in-Chief of Abbotsford. And the first thing we're going to do, make no mistake, is remove the Abbotsford Police Force out of Abbotsford for its organized criminal ring. Failing to investigate itself, using the police for threats, and using police to halt people's voice, but above all, our elections. Them men that worked in the APD believed that uniform, that shield, and the manipulation they could do through Henry Brown and political politicians that Henry was tied to with the Abbotsford Police would allow him to bust the criminal code of Canada. We can't have that. The Abbotsford Police got to be called out for what they did, and they got to be removed. Investigators and top officers kicked right out, lost their jobs, their pensions, and everything. Under my mayorship, that will happen, and we'll bring the best in, the RCMP, into Abbotsford, and we'll go after the financial audits of what Henry was doing, loading jobs. Today, ladies and gentlemen, Abbotsford residents asked me to speak about Sean Frechette coming in, the Christian person coming in from the United States on Mill Lake and what took place. As your mayor, I have no problem allowing this. This would be front and center as this. Understand something in Canada. You have a right to gather and you have a right to freedom, and that should never be taken away. Especially here in the Fraser Valley where all the church-going people are. Ain't Ross Siemens, he goes to church. Wasn't it Henry's church that passed notes around saying, Ross is our boy, but he's weak, he's still our boy? And what about Dave Loewns? Today, all over Facebook, people have been attacking Dave Loewns, rightfully so. Dave Loewns is Henry's lackey. He was a man that went to Blue Ridge, took my mayor's election signs down and put his up off of private property. But Dave Loewns figured out a way out. Dave Loewns spoke today behind half of City Council and Mayor. You can see it. Everything that's tweeted and Facebooked out, it's Dave Loewns, not Ross Siemens. It's Dave Loewns speaking for the city, speaking on behalf of Ross, and speaking on behalf of the City Councils. Therefore, he's the voice of it, and you can see that. About shutting this down, we have Bruce Bamman all over top of it, the MLA. That's what we need, leadership to speak up now, because Henry ain't blocking. But above all, ladies and gentlemen, we have the most important person calling it out, Gill, the MP. That is a number one thing. Why? Why is that so important to Abbotsford residents? Because under Gill's view, and rightfully so, let me lay it out in layman's terms. The South Asians gathered here. The South Asians gathered, and they were allowed to gather. During the Modi protest, the farmers were allowed to gather. The trucking convoy was allowed to gather. It seems like the Christian group is blocked. Your right to religion and what you believe in should never be taken away from. Now, I want to speak to you about something because the churches and pastors were telling me about the lackey, Dave Loewns. So let's get something straight, Dave Loewns. This is why I'm running for Commander-in-Chief, and we're going to open up these things and go after it. You need Ross to quit being the behind the scenes and tell Henry, it's too obvious, Henry. They know you're running me, and they know you're running it all for the jobs. The churches spoke to me today and said, Sean Frechette is not coming in here to do a rock concert or a Christian concert. No, he's coming in for worshiping. So let me explain to you now, because we had to learn what worshiping is. He's coming in here to bless people and bless the people that are unfortunate. So pastors will be here. There'll be all kinds of people that need healing here, I understand, and everything. And you got Dave Loewns saying, no, it's a rock concert. Dave Loewns should stick to the illegal things that they know best. This was being done properly. It was being done by permits, and it was going to be done by permits. And it seems like when you do something illegal, you don't need to have anybody stop it. Let's talk about illegal. Ron Funkadiverse, illegal. You didn't need permits and everybody went behind it. The homeless being kicked off of Gladys Obvious with all the rocks and helping Ron Funkadiverse to move the homeless and taxpayers' dollars. But gosh sakes, what about the Mackenzie Bog? All operating illegal with no permits and everything. Wouldn't it be better for Sean Frechette to come in here and gather with no permits? Why we put the permits, I believe, in his opinion, why he did it. So he could put security in place, he could put the proper things in place, and you could get this done. But it's a good leadership we see in Abbotsford with the former mayor, Bruce Bamman, and the MLA, the party whip of the BC Conservatives, standing up for this. This is what his voters want. Superman Gill standing up for this. This is what they want. They want to see this. Eric Nivel now coming out from behind the woods now, and he's starting to speak about this. We need all residents to speak. This is Abbotsford. Abbotsford and Chilliwack has the most churches, and you should not be blocked no matter where the guy's coming in from, and you should not be isolated to speak. So to Dave Loewns, I really appreciate it now. Remember when Simon Gibson went on and he demanded an apology that Pierre apologized to old Mike DeYoung for cheating. Mike DeYoung had his signs here illegal, all illegal, when he was trying to get that MP position for Henry Brown. And you know what happened, Ross Siemens and Dave Loewns? It wasn't shut down, it wasn't called out, it wasn't blocked, because it was going to benefit the lackey in the establishment what Henry was loading. We need that change. We need these voices. We need this to get bigger. We need all Christians to get behind it. And we need to say enough's enough. And we need to call Ross Siemens and tell Ross Siemens and call him out with the Dave Loewns and everybody else. And we need to make that clear. Ross, you're supposed to be the voice of Abbotsford. That's why when I ran, I knew you couldn't do it. When Greg Toes was blocking me, that's why I knew Henry had to have the Abbotsford police threaten me. That's why I knew, because now Dave Loewns is tweeting out everything and doing everything. Abbotsford residents, I saw some of the responses today. I'm all behind you. I'm all for you. Freedom of speech, freedom to gather, and everything is what every Canadian should be allowed. You should never be taken away. But Lord and behold, what did we have here in Mill Lake? We had an illegal gathering when the Abbotsford Shit Squad was going to introduce the new cauliflower ears Watts with Mike DeYoung. Remember that? They had a little cartoon show and cauliflower ears was coming in about gangs and crime and look at the badge, look at the uniform. And what did he do? He didn't have flaggers, he didn't have security, and we had kids running across the intersections, everything. We need to stand tough, we need leaders now, and we need Abbotsford to get on the map. One of the good things about Sean for that coming in to do this thing, this blessing, is he don't got to go far. Mill Lake's right there, and he maybe can baptize Ross Siemens and Dave Sidhu and bring old Ed Fast and Henry Brown, and maybe you could get get your soul purified again, and you could get back on the track and stop trying to grab the city for its bank account and all that money, because you've been led astray, and we need to make sure that this gets called out. So as Abbotsford's mayor, and as Abbotsford's man running the chief and commander here, I'm all for it, ladies and gentlemen. I will not stop it. I will engage that it does take place. It's your freedom, it's your right, it's your religion. And like I say, if you look at all the other things that are supposed to be stopped, they were licensed. And now we need to make sure that guys like Ross Siemens, Dave Sidhu, and Dave Loewns, they're all behind Dave Loewns. Dave Sidhu is, they're all behind this thing, and we need to make this called out. Today I saw some of the most proudest things on Facebook against Dave Loewns and recognizing what that man is doing and how he is. I'm the mayor. He didn't have enough juice to run as mayor, because Henry probably told him, in my opinion, Dave, we need Ross. He's got the baby look. We can put Ross there and we can run him from behind because we need him for all the jobs. But Dave Loewns didn't have juice. And today is a prime example of no juice. So to Abbotsford Christians, to the pastors and everybody that have been reaching out to me, I say, let's get one thing straight. This ain't no rock concert. This is where you come and gather and you ask the pastors and the priests that got higher contact above you to bless you and give you wisdom and give you knowledge, and that's what's going to be taking place, the churches say. And we need everybody to stand up on that. We're proud of what Bruce Bamman's doing. We're proud of what Superman Gill's doing. And we also say maybe Eric Nivel's made the change from leaving Mike DeYoung. But remember, Nivel's calling this out, but he ran the illegal signs of Mike DeYoung as a financial agent. And where was Dave Loewns? Oh, we need Mike. If we can get Mike as the MP, we can cover everything that's been taking place in Abbotsford. I'm live, ladies and gentlemen. Mill Lake, Abbotsford, British Columbia.